Greetings YouTube, this is Alt Lexington on the 26th of October 2020, about 5:30 PM. Today I'll be flying an Intel Eclipse Battle Cruiser for you. Sorry, I believe it's a cruiser. Fleet Eclipse Intel Cruiser is its proper name. It's a very thin ship. I believe it was inspired, or some players have likened it to, the SR-71 Blackbird, the Starship version of that aircraft. It's a reconnaissance craft or a spy vehicle, intel gathering. Anyway, it's not really the ship or its build that I was planning to talk about today. It was its weapons. I've equipped it with the Ba'ul Weapons. These things. Ba'ul Antiproton beam array. I've pushed them to epic and rerolled their mods to critical damage, and damage times 4. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them on, all the same. And the fun thing about these weapons is that when you shoot a target with just one shot, that target will receive the full damage of that shot, but also your shot will chain from that target to another nearby target. And that nearby target will receive 5% of what you shot the original target with. So for example, if you shoot at target A, that will receive all the damage from your shot, and a nearby target, say target B, will receive a chain effect of 5% of what you shot target A with. So target A gets 100%, target B gets 5%, even though you didn't shoot at target B. You just shot at target A. So each time you shoot a target, a nearby enemy will receive 5% of the damage you shot at your target. It chains once. So you shoot at target A, it will chain to enemy B. If your target is enemy A, they'll receive the full damage of your shot, and then a chaining effect will occur to enemy B, which isn't your target, and will get 5% of the damage you dealt to enemy A, which was your target. Does that make sense? The nearest ship to your target will get 5% of the damage you did to your target through a chain effect. And that's for each shot, not each cycle, each shot. So say this one beam array here, this one, was to fire 3 shots per second, or 4 shots per second, then that'll be 3 or 4 chains to the nearest enemy target. And the chains are 5% of each original shot. It's like a kind of Imagine it like shooting a bullet at a tin can, and the bullet will do its full damage to that tin can and then ricochet off and hit the tin can next to it, but it will be a reduced hit down to 5% of what it did to the first tin can. That might be an easy way to think of it. It's like a chain, a ricochet. Basically, you're shooting through your primary target for maximum damage, and what's left chains to the next target for 5% damage. It's called Ba'ul Refraction, I believe. I also have the 3-piece Lobi store set for these barrel weapons, which consists of a torpedo, an omnidirectional beam, and a console. The omnidirectional beam is a cut above normal omnidirectional beams because it tends to fire more rapidly. Although it's not as strong as the standard beam arrays, the omnidirectional beam does fire more rapidly. Not much more, but a little bit more. And it does also chain just like the standard beam arrays. The torpedo, unlike other antiproton torpedoes, which are energy-based damage, this one is kinetic-based damage. But it also chains 5% of that damage to a neighbouring target. So it works even with the torpedo. I'm not sure the chain is kinetic damage, but I would suspect it isn't. All it says is the shot from the torpedo will chain 5% of its original damage to another target. But it doesn't say whether that is kinetic damage or antiproton damage. I would suspect it's antiproton damage, even though the weapon is kinetic damage weapon, unlike the crystalline torpedo, which is an energy weapon, an energy antiproton weapon. The console improves antiproton damage by 35%. On this build it does. I don't know if that's standard across all builds. I would expect it is if you've epicked your console. It also adds 3.9 hull capacity. And it also makes you immune to control effects for 5 seconds, but only 5 in every 30. It takes 30 seconds to charge, so it's 5 seconds of immunity to control effects, and then 30 seconds before it can give you another 5 seconds of immunity. Now here's the good thing. If you look at the 3-piece, because I've got all 3 pieces, we can look at the bonuses. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's look at what else the console does. Am I getting ahead of myself? No. So we look at the bonuses. The 2-piece bonus. If you have 2 pieces of the set on, say the console and the torpedo, or the console and the Omni, or the Omni and the torpedo, if you have 2 pieces of this set on, you don't need to have Ba'ul Antiproton weapons. You can have any other Antiproton weapon and they will chain to other targets. So for example, if you had just the torpedo and the Omni, and the rest of your weapons were, say, Herald Antiproton, then those Heralds would chain 5% of their damage to a neighbouring target. So, with the 2 pieces of the Lobi set, it will allow any Antiproton weapon, must be Antiproton, to chain to an additional target. Also with the 2-piece, Ba'ul Refraction, that's the chaining, deals 100% bonus damage. Because when using Ba'ul weapons, they will chain to an additional target with each shot. So if you're using the 2-piece, it will allow other Antiproton weapons to do what Ba'ul weapons do. But if you're using the 2-piece with Ba'ul Antiproton weapons, then each shot will not only chain to a neighbouring target, it will also chain to a second neighbouring target, doubling the amount of refraction you get. So imagine it this way, you shoot at a tin can and the bullet ricochets and hits 2 other cans, each one receiving 5% of the original tin can's damage. Does that make sense? So Ba'ul Refraction allows your weapons to chain to another target for 5% of their original damage. Unless you've got the 2-piece, then it will chain to 2 additional targets, both receiving 5% each of the original damage, meaning 100% more overall damage for all shots. Which is great because say you've got all your weapons firing repeatedly, you're probably getting more than 15 shots per second. If you're using fire at will, that is. So you're chaining to... If you're using fire at will, you're getting more than many shots per second, and each enemy hit chains to 2 additional targets with this 2-piece set bonus. So without the set bonus, each shot will chain to a different target to the one that it fired at. Because fire at will fires more than just your own target. It fires at multiple targets and they all get the shot they receive chained to a nearby enemy. And with this 2-piece, they all get a shot that chains to 2 nearby enemies. So that's a lot of fun with a 4 build, a fire at will build, because you get a kind of lattice effect going on of chaining wet energy beams. Making it easy to wear down massive groups of enemies with fire at will. And with the 3-piece bonus, Predator Prey, you get a clicky. That when clicked, it will remove control effects from your starship, like a cleanse. And it will give you 50% bonus anti-proton damage for the 30 seconds the clicky lasts for. That's this clicky here. For the 3-piece bonus, Predator Prey clicky. If you click that, for 30 seconds your weapons will be stronger, but then you've got to wait. It's a 2-minute cooldown, so you've got to wait another minute 30 before you can use it again. Because when you click it, the first 30 seconds his bonus is 50% bonus anti-proton damage, and that remains 90 seconds more for the cooldown before you can use it again. So for 30 seconds in every 2 minutes you're doing 50% bonus anti-proton damage. I've actually got a beam overload build here, but I've made this starship in a way that will allow me to easily switch from beam overload to fire at will depending on my mood. But we'll start with beam overload for the purposes of this video. And I'm going with Torpedo Spread instead of Torpedo High Yield. Actually, I'm going to change that for Torpedo High Yield, so we can be a single target build for the purposes of this video straight away. Just got to find the correct clicky. So it's a torpedo high yield and beam overload boat, meaning it's supposed to be a single target build, but with the 2-piece set, it will probably be targeting 3 enemies at once. Its main target for its full damage of the beam overload and the high yield, and 2 additional targets nearby for 5% of its beam overload and high yield. So let's do a patrol so we can see that in action. Let's do our Gala system. Wanted. I hope I explained that properly. It's kind of difficult to put into words. Your weapon hits the primary target for its full damage, chains to a secondary target for 5% of the damage done to the primary target, and if you've got the 3-piece set, it will chain to a third as well. So let's see. See, there it goes. It's chaining to that target. The torpedoes are supposed to chain as well, but it doesn't say whether it's chaining the kinetic damage value of the torpedo or the antiproton damage. But since it's Ba'ul Refraction, I would guess it's the antiproton damage.
Our scans indicate you are now mine. Looks like our fight got them to notice us. Let's go over and ask if their boss might come out of hiding.
I'm going to park next to these and see if we can get some refraction going on. I'm not going all out, I'm trying to demonstrate the weapons. Let's get them all in range before we aggro them. Now we'll choose this target and see if it chains. See? This is a single target build, but it's chaining to the other targets. You can see it chaining up there in red. And it's also chaining across to this one. In fact, this target is chaining to that one, and this target is chaining and also to that one, but they're both chaining to each other as well, creating a kind of vicious circle.
Keep concentrating fire on individual ships. Separate them and whittle down their numbers. We will not go quietly.
So this target is chaining to this target, which is chaining to this target, and this target is chaining back to this one. But only the first two, the secondary target and the tertiary target, get 5%. The other targets in the circle get 5% of 5%, and so on and so on and so on. But it's almost like a vicious circle. And just for your FYI, this is advanced, but then it's a particularly easy system as well. Now let's switch off the auto fire on my weapons. Wait for the torpedo cooldown and see what that chain's like. See if we can spot its chain on the big target here. We'll just fire the torpedo. Yep. Oh, it is. See, it went to two different targets. It's like a small torpedo, so it must be kinetic damage. Try it again. See, it went and hit that target, and that target then chained back to the original target because this one over here was out of range. Let's reverse. If I can reverse, that is, if the clickies will cooperate. Wait till we can see the ships and fire the torpedo. Boom. There it goes to that one. And there it goes to that one. So I assume now that now that I look at it properly, it is kinetic damage. Now let's fire a beam array, just one, when we get all the targets back in range. Only you could fire one shot. See it chaining? It's chaining to this target and then back to the primary target because there's no other targets. So it chains twice. It goes from the primary target onto the next nearest target, and that will send it to the next nearest target. Unless there isn't one, then it goes back to the original target. And that's the Omni. You can see the Omni fires faster. Here's the normal beam. The beam array. And here's the Omni beam array. You can see the Omni beam array is firing nearly twice as fast as the normal beam array. See what damage one beam array does. It's doing about so much. You can see the yellow numbers. Now let's see what it does with the console clicky. Takes a moment for the console clicky to activate. A few seconds for... Once you click the click, it takes a few seconds to kick in, but it does do extra damage for 30 seconds. Twice as much. You can see it chaining. Change to that one, then to that one. Target one of them small ones. Get them both in sight. Hit. It's working pretty well. Anyway, let's put the weapons back on to auto fire. Beam overload, that refraction is major. It may only be 5% of your beam overload, but it's still pretty major. I've seen secondary targets blow up from just the chain effect when beam overload is active. If they're not that bigger targets, or if they've got a little bit, fair bit of their health gone. Let's see what the high yield does. Actually, we're going to switch off the auto fire again. See, the auto fire is switched off. On this target, we'll do a high yield. Once it's out of cooldown, of course. Okay, high yield is queued up, and fire. I'm loving this. Sort of, it fired 2 torpedoes at this target, and one of them hit that target. Because there was no other target, second target for it to chain to, it went back again. So the torpedo hit the primary target, 2 torpedoes on high yield hit the primary target, which caused a new torpedo to appear of 5% damage to this target, which caused a new torpedo to appear of 5% damage back to the primary target because there was no third target for it to hit. Try it again. 3 torpedoes. 2 onto that one. 2 back. If there are 3 targets, it wouldn't go back. It would go to the third target. Let's try a beam overload. Try a couple of beam overloads. Oh, it doesn't last for long, beam overload. Try beam overload when it comes out of cooldown with the console. On this one, the healthiest target. So, console activated, beam overload activated, target, fire. Oh, that target was too far out of range, I suppose, for the refraction. Yeah, the targets are out of range of the refraction right now. It's still doing quite a lot of damage with the console. But I suspect it's 30 seconds have passed now. And this is very low in health, so it will do more damage. Let's give him a high yield. 1, 2, 3. One of them missed. Omni. The Omni does have a quicker cooldown time than the regular beam arrays. I'm going to wait for the console again, so I can see a high yield on these 3 targets. Sorry, a beam overload on these 3 targets here. Give it a few seconds. Now let's go in there, get him in range, hit the console, and then the beam overload, and then fire. It's refracting. It worked. Let's see if we can get a high yield before. Yep, it's working. It's bouncing back. Anyway, that's enough demonstration about beam overload. Now let's see it all in full action. See that kind of lattice I'm talking about? They're chaining back and forth from each other. A kind of diminishing vicious circle. A vicious circle with diminishing returns on each circle. A vicious. I mean, they sort of chain back on each other, but each chain is slightly weaker after it hits 2 targets. One if you don't have the 3-piece. If you don't have 2 pieces.
There have been rumors that we have the suspect in custody now.
So that was pretty much fun for a beam overload build.
We have the suspect in custody
Now let's try this beam overload build in a TFO. It's not really about the ship or the rest of the build. I mean, this is just a build I slapped on, just to try out these weapons. If you're interested, it's just the Colony Deflector, 2-piece Nukara. Didn't bother with vulnerability locators or exploiters. Put on quite a bit of defense. Drain X ×2 from the research lab. Lobi store armor. And if you're interested in my stats, 110 hull, 15k shielding, 50 resistances, so it's a very survivable ship. I build it for a bit of survival because during my day-to-day play I don't normally go all out DPS. I like a bit of survival for regular play. Skills, just Intel Strategist. traits. You can screenshot that or pause it and have a look. That's the interesting one. Best Diplomat. During fire at will and or beam overload, beam weapon damage is improved by engine shield and aux power. Minimum bonus plus 10%. So that works with either beam overload or fire at will. And I made this ship so I could quickly change over from beam overload to fire at will or back again. And I wanted to put on few intelligence abilities to try him out since it's an intel ship. Alright, let's do a TFO. Random, of course, advanced difficulty. Hope it's a space one. If not, you'll get to see a bonus ground thing that's nothing to do with the Ba'ul. Starbase 1, perfect.
Listen up. The war has not been going well for the Federation.
This would be perfect. $10.
Here they come.
See the chaining? The chains from beam overload, you can even see that they're thicker. As I say, I'm not going all out, I'm trying to get good angles to see it. See, it's shooting off. But you must take into account in Starbase 1 there is a slight weapons animation bug where the weapons do fire off to the side of the map but still hit the target somehow. See, I'm firing at that target, but this target was taking a little bit of damage before I changed to that target. It changed from a target in front of me to a target behind me. Almost as if the beams are going straight through me to the target behind me if I'm caught in the middle. Trying to get one where a torpedo hits and fires off. There's torpedoes. There they go. It's like a tennis ball bouncing off of one target onto another. There's a torpedo, hits that target, and flies off to the next target at 5% of its original strength. I will show the fire at will build as well after this. In another patrol and another TFO.
Reading some heavier ships incoming. Reading some
Sometimes it is hard to see the effects when you've got a good space wizard in the match with you. Meaning a good exotic player. Get away from some of these exotics. Still haven't hit the console yet. Let's do that. Even the chain damage increases. I haven't used much other abilities than my Ba'ul weapons. Haven't really buffed them up too much so far. Haven't needed to. Just what's on my keybind really. So High Yield launches 3 torpedoes that bounce to other targets, and each bounce is 5% of original damage dealt.
This is Andor. Our shields are taking hits, and we can use it after.
See the torpedoes circling around, like almost like Sidewinder missiles circling around to hit the secondary target and the tertiary target. I built this ship to be a pretty good survivor, so I don't really have to worry about
The Klingons are
damage
regrouping again.
too
Get
often.
into position to prepare for the next assault. Here come the Klingon Battleships. Keep fighting!
It's like the enemies probably think they're attacking each other. See the chain going to those two, it's going quite far. I think it's about 4 kilometers, isn't it? That the chain is effective for. You'll have to look that up. I don't think it says on the weapons how far, what the range on the chain is. It's like you turn your primary target into a weapon against its neighbours, its neighbouring enemies. If you're wondering what that swirly stuff is, it's from the engineering ability, level 63 ability, intrusive energy refraction. All engineers would have that if they've reached level 63.
Those enemy ships?
Right, there's a good torpedo strike. Let's see if it bounces off. Yep, there they go. Bang, bang, bang. I think the chain refraction goes after small targets as well, like enemy torpedoes and pets. Just hit the console. It was enough to nuke that, the last bit of that guy's hull. These weapons are fun. So target 1 gets the full damage, and 2 of its neighbours get 5% each. One neighbour if you don't have the 2-piece set, 2 pieces of the 3-piece set. 2 targets if you do have 2 pieces of the 3-piece set. And for 3 pieces of the set you get the clicky that removes control effects and improves your antiproton for 30 seconds by 50%. And it's not just the refraction damage that gets improved by 50%, it's all antiproton damage. So the thing is, if you're not using all if you're not using all Ba'ul weapons, but you are using all antiproton, the antiprotons that aren't Ba'ul weapons will only chain once. Only the Ba'ul weapons will chain twice, and that's only if you've got the 2-piece with the Ba'ul weapons chain twice and the other antiprotons chain once. If you don't have the 2-piece, then the other antiprotons won't chain at all. So we're going to switch to a fire at will. Just let me get rid of the junk. All I do on this ship to switch to fire at will and multi-target build is change the tools, really. A multiple target build. And reseat the ones I changed. Yeah, I did sacrifice a bit of firepower just to try out those intel abilities, and because I wasn't really chasing DPS, I wanted more survival. And I'll just save the build again. And we're on a fire at will build now. Let's do another patrol. Something that's suitable to show this off. Sentinels would be good.
We're in luck. We're carrying.
Let's shut that Stamets off. Hate the way he yammers on.
A Lattice fleet dropping out of war. They're arming weapons.
Right, fire at will. Should have got in a bit closer there. But see, it's even better lattice now, because each shot is hitting a different target and chaining twice. Excuse me, I'm sneezing. There, excuse me. Sorry, that kind of screwed that up. I was sneezing. Sod's law happens when you're filming.
Okay, let's have a look.
Okay, we're on to the next one, and I'm going to switch off my auto fire just to see what it does. Do what we did last time, but 4 instead. Slow and steady wins the race.
Heads up! An Alati fleet just dropped out of war.
Wait at the moment. Target the big one up there. Turn around. Activate 4 and 1 weapon. Another weapon. So it's targeting multiple different targets on 4. I think 4's run out now. But it's still chaining from that one target. Let's see if we can get a torpedo launch. A torpedo spread launch. We'll choose that target because it's got some health. Now look at all the torpedoes flying. It's like juggling balls. You only get 1 spread per cooldown.
Let's get satellite gamma online while we can.
Let's try that again. I want to wait for my torpedo to cool down. And my torpedo spread, wherever it's gone. Torpedo spread's good. Torpedo's good, so deploy satellite. Trigger Elachi.
More Alati.
Aim for the big one, get torpedo spread on. Turn and face it. Hit it. And there they go. It's like another spread. A weaker spread, but still another one. There's the Omni with fire at will. So that's what that is. I wondered what that blue beam was. It's the Omni on fire at will. Let's try the Omni without fire at will. Without fire at will. It's chaining. And now we'll try it with fire at will when we get into the group. Untarget, for God's sakes, there we go. Fire at will. Omni beam. It changes colour. When the Omni's on fire at will, it changes colour. And goes back to red when it's not. I wondered what that was. Wait for fire. Actually, console, fire at will, Omni. The chain is still red though. The chaining damage. That was the satellite launching its torpedoes as well. But it's going after small targets.
Alright, we have 1 satellite left to deploy. Let's get to work.
I believe the Omni's doing something a little extra, that's why it's turning colours. Let's stop here for a moment and have a look. The Ba'ul linked Sentry and Antiproton Omni. The Ba'ul linked Sentry Antiproton Omni is integrated directly with the ship's structural integrity field, allowing it to sink heat across the entire hull. It fires more rapidly. Now I can't see why it's turning blue on fire at will. I think it might not supposed to be, but it still looks pretty good anyway. So it's a minor problem. It might be something to do with it sinking heat across your ship's entire hull. So I think it's getting something extra from fire at will, but I'm not sure what that would be. Sinking heat across your entire hull. It could be what's cleansing control effects. Something to do with that, because that's what this set does. Anyway, let's go full out 4 this time. Now that everything's cooled down.
They're hitting satellite Alpha again.
There's the torpedoes. And there they go. It's a lattice.
Another launch going after satellite Delta.
Torpedoes. 1. We only got 1. Obviously Spread was on cooldown. Look at that! It's like the main target is hit by a tennis ball, and that causes it to launch a ping pong ball with its neighbours, a smaller ping pong ball.
Getting readings from satellite camera. Looks like an Alachi flagship.
5% smaller. I don't often have a set like this to show off, but it's fun to do it this time, isn't it? Nothing for it to target, but it still goes out. Because it's going after small targets as well, which is cool. He managed to science whammy me just at the end with, what's that, jam sensors or scramble sensors or something?
Getting lots of good data coming in from the satellite. The Alachi, the Ferengi, the Orions.
Shut up, Stamets,
Hey,
we're not
let's
interested
forget
in your
about it.
yammering.
Anyone tries to make a play for the score.
That guy has too much to say. So let's do a TFO now. Battle of the Binary Stars is usually a good one for this, but it never pops. So we'll have to try a random. Well, it does pop, just not in a timely fashion for a video. But if you're going to use this with a 4 build, try it in Battle of the Binary Stars. You'll love it. With all those Klingons around. So there must be a reason why the Omni is turning a different colour on fire at will. But I suspect it's more to do with my other parts of my build than it is to do with the weapon itself. With non-Ba'ul related parts of my build. Well, this isn't ideal, this match, but it'll do. Someone's in a temple, Connie. My favourite ship. Recently upgraded one of them today to tier 6X.
Our time here is limited. Stay focused. Plan your attacks.
Right, which way are other people going? Because I want to go a different way.
Every loss is critical for my people.
I'll go after a 1, that's beneath me. Well, beneath this character. Showing them their own web. I got my own sticky mobile web. From the Lattice. That's what it reminds me of, a sticky web. In appearance only, of course. And there's a sticky web as well. I'm not worried about whether I get optional because this video isn't about achieving match points and things. It's more about the weapons and the set. I would recommend this ship to anyone who likes. It's I did once do some DPS chasing on this ship and it shot the hell out of me. It was so good. But that was a long time ago. I forgot what the set's called again. Linked Sentry set. Now here's the interesting bit. It should be able to break a web at fire at will easily. If I had fire at will on when the web was around. Come on, fire at will, come back. Look at that chaining. The sound of these weapons they're sort of like a light version of a cross between coalitions and Krieger wave cannons. Sort of like take the sound coalition weapons make and lessen it, removing all the bass. Lessen that sound a little and do the same with Krieger wave weapons. Combine the two sounds together and you've got the sound of these weapons. I call them Giggle Weapons because it's like they're making the target giggle itself to death. Sounds like a kind of giggling or a jiggle. Like a jolly evil person. But they are quiet weapons as well. They're not overly noisy or thud sound. Did I leave someone alive? See, every pet he's launched is getting a hit as he launches it. He launches a pet only to have the energy chained to that pet straight away. Wow, he's got a lot of hit points. That was sloppy. I missed a target, or it came from over there. Which is unlikely. More likely that I missed a target.
This warbird is escaping. Warbird is escaping.
We're not going to get the optional. No. Because I'm too busy trying to show these weapons off. Should really save that for the next optional, but who cares, eh? Makes very little difference to the end result of the match. There was nothing for that to chain to. Do they want to wait for releasing it? Do the team want to wait? They've left one tractor on. I think someone's releasing it. I don't want to get shouted at.
Dreadnought is escaping.
Should have saved that falchion for the next optional, but since we lost the first one, it didn't really matter. Spread, fire at will. Come on, fire at will. Don't let me down. Break this web. I broke most of the web, not all of it. Broke a good chunk of it though, helping me to escape quicker than I normally would. Console's on for 50% bonus. I should have used that against the previous recluse, the one that I missed. Misclicks. Clicks that are not getting registering the way they should. Probably my keyboard getting old. Probably going to be something turn up here. So if I go up there, it might be wise. I can go up here and wait for a target, because he's probably right with that one. There's more than one person over there. So if I wait here, something might turn up. Let's get in close because there's less chance they put a web around me. Might not happen.
A Delon warbird is escaping.
Come on, Folians. There we go. There it is. Oh, I blew up because I was too busy trying to get a good camera angle. It happens. More and more just lately. Being wise doesn't always pay off. Didn't take any damage though. Yep, the damage is chaining. I zoomed out there because I wanted a good camera angle, but I paid the ultimate price for not paying attention to the match as much as I should. Pay more attention to the video instead of to the match. My own stupid fault. That's why we lost both optionals. I think I was the drag to this team.
A Talis warbird is escaping. A Haypax warbird is escaping.
See if we can find another target before the end. There's a freezy over there. It's not already been dealt with. The enemies might have already been dealt with, you never know. I think... no, they're still there. Okay, Folians, it's revenge. Come on, console, don't let me down. There we go. I had help from another player who's done some space magic. Looks like a space magic player in that ship. A science guy. We're not going to get this ship anyway. But that was kind of fun. Showing off these weapons. I'm sure there are ways to... there's plenty of other consoles that will boost anti-proton damage, but I didn't use them on this. I could have, but I didn't. Because this wasn't really about anti-proton damage, it was more about the refraction. Anyway, you don't want to see me doing that. So it was a ship built for survival with 6 Ba'ul beam arrays, 1 Ba'ul Omni beam array, Ba'ul Torpedo and Ba'ul Console. And the Console, Torpedo and Omni create the linked Sentry set. The reason I got these weapons is because I was trying to get the Ba'ul ship, but never got lucky for that. But you don't really need the new ships. You just, from the lockboxes, just get the weapons and you'll be fine. You put them on any ship. Get the weapons in the set. So there you have it. That's the video for today. Hope it was passable. If it is, please like, subscribe, share. Most of all, comment. I like to see comments. And for those of you that don't know, I now have a Twitch stream where I stream the game on Twitch every day, Monday to Friday, not at weekends because I work at weekends. And it's 10 AM Greenwich Mean Time till 2 PM Greenwich Mean Time, Monday to Friday. And I usually go on a bit longer than 2 PM if I'm in the mood, which I often am. And you can see me playing with teams there sometimes. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope I did good in my unprofessional way. I don't claim to be a brain all of the game. I just like to show off what I do. Bye.